In this video, we'll go over some useful English phrases and expressions found in the miniseries Daredevil, the Man Without Fear. This series tells the origin story of Matt Murdock, also known as Daredevil. The series features gritty artwork and an intense storyline, and is a must-read for new fans and is a perfect choice for intermediate-level English learners because it's an interesting story and the pages aren't filled with too much text. So let's explore some useful phrases from the series. After Matt's accident which blinds him, the narrator reads, "But he doesn't die, so he has to make do." After a while, he somehow shuts it out. The phrase "to make do" means to manage or cope with something that is not ideal or satisfactory, often with limited resources or options. Matt has to make do without being able to see for the rest of his life. Another example using this phrase is, "She didn't have the right tools to fix the sink, so she had to make do with a pair of pliers and some duct tape to get the job done." The phrasal verb to shut out something or shut something out means to prevent something from being heard, seen, or noticed. For example, she shut out all distractions and focused on her studies. Another example is, the music was so loud that he had to shut out the noise to concentrate. While talking to Matt's father, Jack, the fixer calls Jack the flavor of the month and tells him to throw tomorrow's fight. The phrase "to be the flavor of the month" means to be popular or in favor for a short period of time. For example, the company's new SUV is the flavor of the month in the automobile industry, and the new employee was the flavor of the month among his colleagues until he made a mistake. The phrase "to throw a match or throw a fight" means to intentionally lose a competition or a fight. For example, the boxer was accused of throwing the fight for a bribe, and the team decided to throw the match to avoid facing a tough opponent in the next round. While investigating, a detective thinks that two gangsters have been hitting the sauce. To hit the sauce means to drink alcohol excessively. For example, "Our neighbor has been acting strange lately. I think he's been hitting the sauce again. And he used to have such a promising future, but now he's unemployed and hits the sauce alone in his apartment." In the classroom, Brad is bullying Matt's friend Foggy, so Foggy tells Brad to lay off. Lay off is a phrasal verb with two main definitions. The definition used here is to stop bothering or criticizing someone. For example, "Lay off, I'm doing my best." And he needs to lay off his sister and stop criticizing her choices. The second definition of layoff is to stop employing someone, as in ending their employment. A lot of service industry employees were laid off at the start of the pandemic. After class, Foggy is telling Matt about how Brad's bullying makes him feel. He says, "I don't know what to do, Matt. I can't think straight. And even when Brad doesn't come after me, I'm all tied up in knots." Due to Brad's bullying, Foggy can't think straight. To think straight means to think clearly and rationally. For example, he couldn't think straight after the divorce and made some impulsive decisions. Impulsive decisions are choices you make without really thinking much about it. The next sentence says he needs to think straight and prioritize his responsibilities. Foggy is so nervous that he's tied up in knots. To be tied up in knots means to be extremely anxious or nervous. For example, "I'm tied up in knots about the upcoming exam." And he gets tied up in knots every time he has to speak in public. After Matt confronts Brad about his bullying, Brad apologizes to Foggy and tells him, "You're okay in my book, Foggy." To be okay in one's book means to be acceptable or satisfactory to someone. For example, he comes in late frequently, but he works harder than anyone else once he finally clocks in. He's okay in my book. When Foggy tells Matt about Brad's apology, he tells Matt that he should have seen his face. The phrase "should have seen one's face" is a phrase used to express amusement or surprise at someone's reaction. "I told him the good news and you should have seen his face. He was so happy." On their way to class, Foggy tells Matt, "I don't know how you do it, Matt. Here I study till I'm pooped to make the grade, and you just seem to breeze through." To which Matt replies, "Maybe you shouldn't have the TV on when you hit the books, Foggy." To be pooped means to be tired or exhausted. For example, "After a long day at work, I'm pooped." The phrase "to breeze through something" means to do something quickly and easily. For example, she breezed through the exam and finished it before anyone else. And he breezed through the interview and got the job. The phrase to hit the books means to study or start studying. For example, I have a test tomorrow, so I need to hit the books tonight. While gangsters are meeting, they complain that young people are leaving them in the dust. To leave someone in the dust is to outperform someone significantly or move forward without waiting for them. For example, the runner left his opponents in the dust and won the race easily. While talking about the Kingpin's rise, the narrator says that he waited for years, making the proper connections, building a silent consensus. To build a consensus means to reach an agreement among a group of people. For example, the group had to build a consensus before making a decision. When Mickey sees a picture of Matt's father on the gym wall, Matt tells her that his father did whatever it took to keep food on the table. To keep food on the table means to earn enough money to support oneself or one's family. For example, he works 2 jobs to keep food on the table for his family, and she started her own business to keep food on the table and pursue her passion. After years of not seeing each other, Matt runs into his old roommate Foggy, and Foggy tells him he's drowning in people with everyone he is trying to help in a class action lawsuit, and Matt leaps at the chance to help. To drown in something means to be overwhelmed or consumed by something. 2 examples using this are, he was drowning in debt and couldn't see a way out, and the business was drowning in competition and had to adapt to survive. To leap at the chance to do something is to eagerly accept an opportunity. For example, he leaped at the chance to study abroad and experience a new culture, and the athlete leaped at the chance to compete in the Olympics and represent his country. While researching for a case, Matt wants to use an old court case as an argument and says it's a stretch. To be a stretch means to be difficult or unlikely to achieve. 2 example sentences are, the company's growth target is a stretch given the current market conditions, and completing a marathon is a stretch for someone who has never trained before. On a walk, Mickey is thinking about how Matt isn't able to come to the gym to work out anymore because he's so busy. The narrator says that Matt's been tied up for a week. To be tied up means to be busy or unavailable. For example, I'm sorry I can't meet today, I'm tied up with work. And he was tied up with family obligations and couldn't attend the event. Here, the kidnappers call Mickey's parents and arrange to have them pay a ransom so they'll return their daughter. Mickey's father says over the phone, I can get my hands on $6,000 within an hour. That's all I have. And when talking to his wife, he says, we're at their mercy. To get one's hands on something means to obtain or acquire something. For example, he finally got his hands on the new smartphone model he had been wanting. The phrase to be at one's mercy means to be completely under someone else's control or power. For example, he was at the mercy of the kidnappers and didn't know what they would do to him. And the fate of the team was at the mercy of the referee's call. While trying to rescue Mickey, Matt follows Mickey's father. The narrator says that they run the poor man ragged and they test Matt's patience. To run someone ragged means to make someone very tired or exhausted. For example, the boss ran his employees ragged with unrealistic deadlines and long working hours. The next sentence says, the parents were running themselves ragged, taking care of their newborn twins. To test someone's patience means to do something that annoys or frustrates someone to the point of losing their patience. For example, the student's whining was testing their teacher's patience. On this page, one of the criminals watching over the kidnapped children asks, what's gotten into them? To ask what's gotten into someone means to express surprise or confusion about someone's behavior. For example, what's gotten into him? He's usually so quiet and reserved. Outside, 2 criminals are talking about how to control the kids, and one says, sometimes you just gotta lay down the law, you know? To lay down the law means to set rules or give orders in an authoritative manner. For example, the coach had to lay down the law to get the team back on track. Thank you for watching. I hope at least one of these phrases were new to you. Try to use one the next time you are speaking with someone in English or down below in the comments. See you in the future.